I apologise for it being a little while since our last episode, but right in the thick of it, and I'm really excited to welcome somebody onto the show today to talk about all things technology. Before I do that, though, please do make sure you follow our socials. Join us at NetSupport Group. You can follow me on Twitter at ICT Evangelist. And to find out more about our work at NetSupport, please visit netsupportsoftware.com. And of course, we've got things that we run as well, additional to Tip Top Tips Edu, like our popular Check It Out show. So it takes place every single month on YouTube and on LinkedIn and on Twitter. You can always watch the episodes back. But it's a great opportunity to learn about the latest EdTech and services into education. And we feature regularly 20 or so different companies sharing in 5 minutes what makes their product or service so helpful and useful. So with that over and done with, I'm really excited to bring onto the show today Jordan Smithson. Welcome, Jordan. How are you doing today?
Hi, Mark. Yeah, I'm good. I apologise for the noise. Break time is in full swing here. I tried to get away from it, but unfortunately in a primary school you can't escape everything. So hopefully it shouldn't be too much longer.
No, absolutely lovely. Like I shared before we started recording, I absolutely love that noise, and it makes it even more authentic hearing the children running around and playing and enjoying a bit of autumnal sunshine, hopefully sunshine at least.
It's behind the clouds at the minute, but we'll see if it comes out.
Brilliant. Listen, Jordan, for those who don't know who you are, could you share a little bit about who you are, where you work, the sort of work you do, that sort of thing, please?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Jordan Smithson. I'm IT manager here at All Saints Primary School in Peterborough. We're an inner city school of 420 pupils, just over 75 members of staff. As I said before, I look a lot older than actually what I am. I've only been working for 5 years. I'm still very, very young and new in my career. I started working straight out of secondary school in another secondary school as part of a trust IT support team. Before then moving to All Saints just under 3 years ago. 3-year anniversary comes up in a couple of weeks' time. And since then, it's just been, the career has just kind of shot, and I'm an SBM in training, so I'm learning to become a school business manager, just to add an extra kind of opening to my career there. But yeah, all things EdTech is what I love. I love coming to work, love seeing the kids running around and providing them the foundations to kind of build their own learning. The teachers build the foundations for the extensive kind of curriculum that we're trying to develop here at All Saints. So yeah, I've taken to kind of LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram now a lot more to try and share my experiences within IT. I'm a Microsoft educator, MIE. Running a number of training sessions already. We had over 110 schools join us for our last one, going paperless with cloud. And we've got another further 50 booked in for our coming one, which is next Tuesday, about communicating with families and how you can use the Microsoft platform to do that. So yeah, it's just sharing my journey really. And it's just great to collaborate on things like this.
No, absolutely, and how inspiring to have someone so relatively early in their career being so not only articulate but up for coming on and sharing and learning and all these things as well, Jordan. I really appreciate you giving us some time to talk with me today. If you want to find out more about the training and the things that you're offering, I'm guessing they can sort of follow you at your Twitter account handle, sort of going across the bottom right now. Yes.
Yeah, so my Twitter and Instagram is at Mr. J Smithson _edu. I'm on LinkedIn as Jordan Smithson, and that's where I share the most kind of our training stuff we do here at All Saints. You can also see it via the All Saints School website as well, which you can find on all of my social media.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Jordan. Well, look, the show's called Tip Top Tips Edu. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump in and ask you some tips questions. Teacher confidence is huge and massively important when it comes to actually making some impact with the use of technology in a school and certainly engagement in that EdTech. What are your sort of top tips for engaging with teachers in helping them learn best sort of practices with using educational technology, Jordan?
So I think when it comes to that, it's getting the core foundations right. So we've just recently moved to cloud. We're now fully cloud with the Microsoft and Azure platform, and it's taken us 2 years to get to that point. It's been a long process, and it's all about taking your time. And from a primary school who's very much we've had the same ways. This is how we teach. This is how we do stuff. It's trying to break away from that point and move to the future, to give us the more sustainability in the coming years. With technology being such a massive point at the minute, and easily accessible to everyone, we want to make sure that it's easily accessible in school. So we've gone from a school where we've had kind of one set of laptops and a couple of sets of iPads to a now, a 2-form entry primary school with close to 300 devices just for students alone. And it's all about, so long as the students can access it, it's about giving the teachers the best experience. So we've redesigned how we do everything on the cloud. We've worked with teachers extensively to understand what their core needs are, and setting common goals for everyone. It's about having, we got our starting point, and it's about understanding where we're all going together, and having that common goal with teachers and getting teachers involved gives them more confidence. And it sets out the best kind of practices moving forward from there. If you keep it simple at the beginning, you know where you're going. We're able to get there together. I think another thing as well would be looking at the infrastructure. From me, I'm not a teacher by trade. As I was saying before, I am solely the school's IT. It's very rare to have a primary school where you've got a 24/7 IT support person. So my whole point is about innovating the new ideas. But at the beginning, you have to start at the simple area. You have to make sure. So we've done a like-for-like transition. So everything that they had before, it looks exactly the same. It's just the back-end stuff we've changed. We then start drip feeding in the use of forms. We're massive into forms now. Everything is eForm, SharePoint, Teams for online classrooms, blended learning solutions, all things like that. So as you say, helping teachers and engaging with them is about keeping them involved throughout the whole process, not letting them feel left out and then you just slam with going this over the summer, this is what you've got to do. It's about having that role in a kind of collaboration process with the teaching staff.
Thank you, Jordan. I mean, that massively resonates with me, and I love that that idea of sort of keeping it simple, silly. If you haven't got that baseline, that foundational knowledge in using tools like forms and Teams and so forth and so on, if you can't use it at the basic level, then you've got nothing to build upon, have you?
Yeah, and that's it. And I think we are primarily a Microsoft school. I have worked with other schools. We used to provide external support. So I have worked with other schools that are kind of mixed Microsoft and Google. I can't comment on the Google platform because I've never touched it. And obviously, being an MIE trainer, I solely focus on Microsoft. So the solutions are out there, and anyone is able to access this stuff. I've worked with business managers in multi-academy trusts, and now they're paving the way for their own schools and their own trusts for going paperless with cloud and using the form. So having that core understanding and having someone just to share that knowledge, that's been my goal for this year, is just to share the knowledge that we've accumulated over the last 2 years. Because sometimes you can just get a company in and they'll just deal with the entire lot and you just see the outcome. But being inside the process and understanding what this company is actually doing and how they're actually doing it gives a better understanding for everyone. And teachers will often get scared if you change too much in one go, or they get really confused and they get scared that actually they don't log in with just their username. Now it's their email address and it's all on this online world that's stored somewhere magical. But giving them that understanding and giving them inside knowledge of what we do gives them the better kind of backbone and the better kind of foundation to understand what our goal is and how we're going there together, not just me saying this is what we're doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Jordan. Thank you. And so my next question sort of links in, and I think we can sort of hear this really in the way you're sort of explaining your responses so far as well. Viewers, Jordan has extensive experience as a rugby coach, and as someone from Gloucester, I'm sure he'll know that I've got a bit of a history within the game myself too. But working as a coach in that sort of environment there are lots of parallels in the ways in which you will work with those young people as to how you'll work with teachers and the pupils in the school, in the All Saints School as well. So what tips have you learned from your coaching experience that you bring to your work with teachers at the school, Jordan?
From a rugby standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, and something that I always follow in my life, I have a little 3-word slogan, which is determination delivers reward. So if you're determined to do something, you will always get the reward that you want at the end. And that's been massive for me in rugby. So I started coaching at the age of 15. Very, very young age, just helping out on a Sunday morning whilst I wasn't playing, and working with a sports coaching company to help. We actually did 18 months to 6-year-olds start to learn rugby. So you're getting that kind of inner knowledge. And I jumped quite quickly up the ladder. I've done regional stuff. I've done county stuff. I've worked with England Rugby and their community teams and the likes of Northampton Saints and Leicester Tigers. So I've had a massive experience. And then recently I was the head of academy rugby for Peterborough Rugby Club, with a team of all in all about 100 people, which I directly oversaw as part of the club's transition and development pathway. And that gives you a really, really interesting understanding about how to work with people, because you've got a mass amount of people that you're responsible for, but everyone has their own unique way of learning and everyone has their own unique way of being communicated with. So, with a coaching team of 20 people, I needed to make sure that A, the information was getting across to them, but B, that they were accessing that information in the way that suited them best. Me being massively into IT, we had spreadsheets, we had WhatsApp groups, we had everything that you could possibly think of to try and get the information across. When it comes to players, you're understanding that some players are far ahead of what other people are, and that's just natural progression, or it's just that they excel in certain areas, and you need to try and balance that out. Bringing that into a school environment is the exact same. Some of our younger teachers who grew up with technology will be flying, give them a laptop, this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to do it, fantastic. Whereas some of our older teachers, and not just at All Saints but other schools that I've worked in, get very kind of nervous around technology. They think that if it breaks, we're so reliant on technology now in education that if something goes wrong or something breaks or doesn't work how we think it should work, that kind of breaks our train of thought and breaks how our process is working. So it's about changing how you deliver training, how you kind of mentor and coach teaching staff to fit their needs. And so you have to have like this massive wide range of view to see what each teacher is operating at, how each teacher or member of staff accesses information. Some might like it nice written down step by step by step. Others, we've just started doing loads of training videos. So there's little 3-minute videos on our support desk showing little things. Teachers have loved that. So you're picking out all the little bits and how best to deliver this content. So I think give it, top tips for that kind of question is just take a step back and see how people react and see how people learn would be the first one. So having that wide scope, change your delivery to understand and access and allow people to access what you're delivering them. And, I always come back to it because it's massive in schools. It's just keep it simple. Don't try and bombard. We in rugby use the term, or I do anyway, called the rule of 3. So you only give 3 points. That's a massive thing in kind of the SEN world, is that some pupils can only access 3 instructions one after the other. If you start giving them more and more and more, they just go, no, I'm not doing that. I'll just do these 3. So it's about just being being able to understand and read people. And it's something that does take a long time to pick up. It's taken me 10 years in coaching to understand how people react to different things. And I'm now seeing a bigger kind of improvement within education as to how we're delivering our training to be more accessible to people.
Thank you so much, Jordan. That hugely resonates with me around teacher confidence, competence, the bell curve you'll have, working with a group of people with varying confidences and competencies and abilities and all those things. So brilliant stuff. Thank you so much for that response. Thank you. Through our conversation, I know you're also a big fan of cloud computing. The third area for today's Top Tips recording. What tips have you got? What advice do you have for any schools looking to migrate sort of local infrastructure up to the cloud?
So, yeah, I would say that cloud computing has kind of taken over my life in the last couple of months. We've done a 2-year project here at All Saints, starting to progress slowly, but then moving a lot more quickly. We just moved our governing body in the initial phase just to see how they would react on Teams and SharePoint, not knowing that in 6 months' time we'd all be learning on Teams because we're going into a global pandemic. Then we moved staff on and we started getting staff to understand, and pupils just pick it up anyway because they live with technology. And then we kind of did the whole rollout program. I think schools go into a cloud-based system. Firstly, would be to find out what your kind of common goals are. What do you want to try and achieve? It's understanding what you've got now, what you need to take, what you don't need to take. So we didn't take a lot of our files across. They're still on our big server, but they're not on our new one because they're 4 or 5 years old and we don't need them anymore, but we still keep that archive. And then it's about how you're going to get there. Some people use IT managed service companies. Some people work with big academy trusts to help them with the process. I speak to loads of people on LinkedIn and I can see people turning around schools to be cloud within just a couple of days. That's a massive effort. But if you're just a little primary school, it's about setting out how your process is going to do it. If you haven't got someone like me who's in 24/7, it's finding the right person to do that. So it's finding your common goals. It's speaking to people. I always say, and again, going back to the rugby, it's collaboration over competition. Never compete with anyone in IT because then it just gets into this battle. No one will want to share ideas, and places like LinkedIn and social media sites like Twitter will just become obsolete for this kind of process, because if you're all competing to be the best and you're all competing to do the best thing, no one's going to progress together, because some people will be miles and miles ahead, but they won't want to share what they're doing to a little primary school who's still stuck with blackboards and writing in chalk. So it's about having collaboration over competition. Things like this, coming and sitting down and talking to people. I do drop-in calls, SBMs that we've done training with, tech people that we've done training with, can book a 30-minute slot with me, and we just sit down, we just talk through little questions they have, processes. It's about having open communication. And that's a massive thing, and it's not just in IT and in EdTech. It could be the curriculum side of it. I've dabbled in a little bit of it, but it's, what can we do in this part of the curriculum? It's having these deep dive sessions. It's understanding what you've got. I can't say too much for the Google Classroom and Google Cloud area, because I've not touched it. But for Microsoft, it is fairly simple. Most schools have Microsoft email accounts. And if you've got access to kind of the global admin, you'll already have access to the free Azure AD, which can host cloud laptops and it can host cloud devices. And then it's just figuring out what your structure is. So we use OneDrive and our personal accounts literally for all of our My Documents, and then we use SharePoint and Teams as the kind of brain. It's our kind of shared drives. That's where everything's hosted. I've seen schools go really, really crazy with teams, and they have teams for each class and each thing. Primary schools don't really need that. We do it by year group. So we have a year group team for year 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. We have a main staff team. So everyone in the school that's member of staff gets access to that, and then they get access to our shared drives through that. We've got governors, we've got IT support, and then we've got something called the Vault, which is our iCarve. So when people leave, we move all their stuff onto the Vault. Data retention takes over, and it does its thing. So yeah, have common goals, keep it simple. I know I keep saying that. Collaboration over competition is a massive phrase to live by. Things like this. If I was trying to compete against the likes of NetSupport, which I'd never do, I wouldn't be here talking to you and sharing ideas, or I wouldn't want to share what I was doing. So it's having open communication with someone, and anyone on LinkedIn or Twitter is more than happy to share. That's how I first started, just connected with a couple of people and said, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? I still do it now. If you go on my LinkedIn, it'll be, has anyone done this with Intune? Someone always has. And it's about that sharing process.
No, I massively agree. I often share things like about social media, particularly Twitter for me, but being like the best staff room in the world. And you do find people are just so happy to share. And I think it's a really nice hallmark of the profession and the sector, really, that people recognize there's far more that unites us than divides us, and that education can be a real force for good.
And I think...
I'm going to jump next time onto the next question, Jordan, if that's okay, because you
of course.
mentioned collaboration a few times. Have you got any tips for collaborating, perhaps at a local? I mean, it's different, isn't it? You'll have your local sort of networks with schools around Peterborough, but you'll also have national, and then obviously, when you're using social media, you've got the global level there as well. So, have you got any tips for collaborating at a local or national or global level?
So again, it comes down to your access, and it comes down to what you want to kind of achieve for it. So as I said at the beginning, I'm a school business manager in training, so that's a massive community within itself. So I'm on 2 Facebook groups online. One is a national UK-wide SBM group, and the other one is just for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. So I'm able to access the smaller cluster of schools locally, figure out, how'd you do this, how'd you do that? And then I'm able to access the bigger picture. And that's really great for when we're providing IT, because I can target the smaller schools in the inner city that I know need support, but maybe they don't want to be reached out just as quick. They just want to see something pop up on their phone. And then we push it out on the massive kind of the SBM group chat for the UK, and everyone picks it up from left, right and centre. I think we've reached the top of Newcastle down to the end of Plymouth, St Ives area, Padstow area. We just got the Isle of Wight. That's quite a cool achievement. The map is slowly growing. We keep a massive map. I think we're over 130 schools that we've worked with now, just in the last year alone. So, I think being able to do that. Also, things like we keep saying Twitter and LinkedIn are massive, and that's because they are. You can target specific schools locally. You could just put, I think I put a tweet out a couple of months ago, anyone in the Peterborough area doing this. A couple of people replied. You don't always get a reply, but people will see it. And again, same for LinkedIn. So we're working towards creating a forum for IT in the local area, because we want to try and, again, that's collaboration. We're sharing the knowledge. We're letting people do and use our information. So we're working to create a local forum and work with, the likes of the bigger forums. So I'm on Network Managers in Education, as I'm sure you probably are as well. And that's a massive forum again within itself, and that's more the national level. So it's working out what you want to try and achieve from it, and what the best way to do it is. There are loads of Facebook groups. If you ask any business manager, IT, whoever, there'll always be a group for something. There's a group for teachers on Facebook. There's maths teachers, computing teachers. Everyone wants to share stuff. And I think, going back to what we were talking about earlier, IT is a very unique profession, especially in education. I think the commercial side I've not dabbled in too much, but I've seen doing the business managers course the difference between commercial and education, and IT in education can be its own unique bubble. Like me, I'm one person with no other connecting schools to us. So if I'm struggling with an issue, it can either be really, really lonely because you don't know how you're going to do it. You got to try and get bogged down, or it's a really big eye kind of opening experience because you put it on LinkedIn and then you get connections. And collaborating with local schools as well, just pick up the phone, send them an email. Who's your IT coordinator? Find out who's doing what. Because if local schools start connecting and start collaborating, that builds a bigger network. Multi-academy trusts have a great support system in place already because they are one big cluster. But if you're an individual school, or maybe you're a trust that wants to see what other trusts are doing, just contact them, just reach out in a local sense, find a Facebook group, go on LinkedIn. I've seen loads of CEOs putting stuff out recently, looking at digital transformation and new job roles coming available and things like that. Just connect with people and just talk is the biggest thing. Even if you don't know what you're going to talk about, just talk. And there's never, especially in IT, there's never a wrong answer. There's never a wrong answer in most things. It's just everyone needs to learn together and kind of collaborate.
I completely agree. It goes to that adage, isn't it, about the network being more powerful than the node, isn't it?
That's it, yeah.
When we can work together and say somebody will nearly always have had the same problem you're having.
Yeah.
And teachers and people who work in education seem to be sort of cut from the same sort of cloth, really, and they're happy to share.
Yeah.
Which is always so lovely and helpful and useful. I'm mindful of time, Jordan. I'm going to jump into the last question, if that's okay. And really, the floor is open to you. And to ask you, really, do you have any final tips that you'd like to share for our audience today?
I think the final tips would be, we spoke about having a common goal. We spoke about always being open to talk to people and to train. My final top tip would be always develop, and it's something that I always do when I'm coaching as well. Because again, it comes back to determination delivers reward. We're working together to do something. If we're always developing, we're always going to get better. And always develop kind of brings together everything we've spoke about today, because we've been doing a 2-year process up to September to launch our cloud platform. We're now at the beginning of November, and I've already changed the platform 2 or 3 times. Someone's come and, this doesn't work properly. That's fine. We've been very clever that we've kept everything in house, because if you keep it in house, I'm not saying you should. Most people use managed service IT providers, and they're fantastic. They do a great job. We've kept ours in house for the pure reason of we want to have that control. Someone comes to me, so we've got a business portal online through SharePoint. We're using Power BI, loads of e-forms coming into everything. That's a massive creation in itself. The business manager comes to me and says, I want this Power BI to be able to show me this. Fine, 2 or 3 seconds, job done, update, it's gone. So it's always been able to develop, and it's always been able to pick out what the small features are that you don't think is quite right. This SharePoint doesn't link to here properly. Is there any other way to get to this? Yeah, our members of staff can log onto their laptops, and there's 4 or 5 different ways to be able to access one thing, and that goes for everything. And being able to always develop and always keep not so much reinventing the wheel, but just changing bits of the wheel to keep it rolling, massively uplifts everything that the school does. And then coming back to my lovely phrase, collaboration over competition, it's sharing that information. You'll always see me on LinkedIn, we just launched this on our business portal, we've done this, and I'm trying to give as much information as possible to people so that they can get inspiration from it. So we launched, obviously, new features on our business portal for our site manager. We're moving away from our management system for that. So our site manager will be hosted via our business portal with an app through Power Apps and Power BI. Our finance system goes through that. We do our HR and contracts through that now. Everything is coming together, and we're always developing. So why not share that? Why not let Joe Bloggs, who's a business manager, say, this looks fantastic. Let me take this to my IT team and let's see if they can do it. And upskilling everyone is important. That'd be my final one. Is upskill everything. That's the reason why I decided to become a Microsoft MIE, because I want to upskill people. I'm only 23. I'm only at the start of my career. Why shouldn't I be able to share my knowledge and my information to people just the same as someone who is 2-3 decades into their career? I connect with people on LinkedIn. I think one of the biggest inspirations on LinkedIn would be, your boss really, Al. Al is a massive inspiration for me on LinkedIn, because, that's someone who is, absolutely phenomenal in what he does. He's massive in his career. He knows everything. He knows everyone. And it's, he's always liking my posts, sharing comments. We had a bit of banter on there the other day about I'd had 2 of the NetSupport Cups. I was wondering if there was a third one. And, he's always engaging. And it's that I want to try and give to someone else. We spoke beforehand that I've got no qualifications in IT. I've never went to university. Everything I've done is self-taught, it's self-picked up, and it's self-developed. And that's what I want to give to the other people. Why can't someone who's worked in their career for 5 years, who's worked their way up, they've got all the knowledge, why can't they go for the bigger, better things? Why is it always, you got to have a degree, you've got to have this? Yes, in some instances, yeah, that's great. But upskilling is going to be the greatest solution that there ever is. You can always go to university, but that degree is only ever as good as the day you leave. Because in IT, the world changes day by day. Microsoft Ignite's on at the minute. Who knows what's going to come out of that? I'm seeing stuff on LinkedIn that's already changed what I knew last week. So how much else is going to come out? And it's having that kind of constant upskill, and that's what I'm striving for. Let's just develop together, because the more we lift kind of the digital access that we've got across the city, and the country, the more that every child is going to have a better and more enhanced learning experience within schools.
That's some great tips there, Jordan. Thank you very much. And I'll just add to that you're a bit of an inspiration yourself, 23, and so articulate and so many ideas, and working in such great ways. That's one of the things with social media. Just because somebody might have a load of followers or anything like that doesn't necessarily mean that their voice is any more important. And I love how you're not only championing your work, but the school, working to connect and collaborate and communicate and work with others and inspire others through the things that you're doing too. A brilliant, brilliant story. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with me today, Jordan. I really
no worries. Thank you very much.
Time. Just to remind everybody, if you're looking to find out more about Jordan and connect with him, please do visit his website. The address is just scrolling across the bottom right now. But if you're listening rather than watching, Jordan Smithson, jordansmithson.com. And you can follow Jordan on social media at Mr. J Smithson _EDU. Well, that's it for another episode of Tip Top Tips Edu. Thank you again to Jordan for taking the time to come and share with me today. I really appreciate that. And we look forward to catching you on the next episode of Tip Top Tips Edu. Thank you very much indeed. That's all from me, Mark Anderson. I look forward to seeing you next time. Cheers.